Well, I know I'm gonna be bummed out after this episode, talking about garbage things fight promotions do to so many fighters. And this is not just reserved for, amateur fighters or lower tier pro fighters. This is even happening on the big leagues sometimes. So stay tuned. This is stuff you're gonna wanna be aware of before you step in and sign with a fight promotion. All right, everybody, we are talking about 5 sketchy things that bad fight promotions may do to you. Before that though, I want to let you know that I have developed an offense course, strike ready, assault, all these belts here. How did I go about winning them? This is going to help you understand how to up your game, so many elements of how to do better when you spar or when you're fighting, of course. I have a link down in the description below to Strike Ready Combat, and right now, for a few more days, I believe, we have our early bird special. Save 40% on October 7th. The course launches. We have 5 weeks. We have 3 live calls where you can bring your questions for me and I will be there to answer. This is gonna be great. I look forward to seeing all of you there. All right, big red flags which can arise. What is one of the first ones that I always look for that has happened to me even fairly recently? Lying about my opponent's fight record. So sketchy. Right? When you find out who your opponent is and the promotion says, oh, you're fighting a dude who's 8-2. And then you get in the ring and they're doing the announcing and you hear something like 16-4. You're like, what the heck? That's not what I was told. Or the fight promotion will say, oh yeah, they have a 3-0 record in MMA. You're like, okay. That's fine. And then you get in and at some point you hear, oh yeah, 3-0 in MMA, 8-1 in kickboxing, 3-2 in Muay Thai, 10-0 in amateur boxing. What the heck? This is common. So you have to do your own research before you sign anything, because fight promotions, fight promoters, fight matchmakers, they can be really sketchy. Here's something that you should really be on the lookout for. Like, laser focused on this happening more than once. Offers for short notice fights. Short notice fights only. When does this happen? In my experience, the promoters only offer you these terrible contracts when they don't want you to succeed. When they're looking usually to highlight some other fighter and you're the backup replacement. They don't care about you. I mean, in general, a lot of fight promotions don't really care about anybody. In my opinion, it's all about the money, but still, they care about you even less. They don't have interest in seeing you win, and that's why they don't give you enough time to prepare. You're just a last-minute replacement. If they do it once, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna seize my opportunity, I'm gonna jump in there, show them what I can do, that's fine. Once. Second time, I'd be like, no, guys, I just did that. Give me a full camp, let me prep up, let me know who my opponent is so I can game plan. It's super sketchy to take fights on short minute notice. We see it in the UFC very often. A lot of people whose full-time job is to fight, so they're training, and they're again trying to look for any opportunity to bump up and maybe get bigger fight money, bigger fight purse, right? Maybe their normal contract is 20-20, but on short notice they're like, oh, we'll bump you up to 35-35, and maybe it stays there after. So these guys are trying to make more money in their fight career. For the average person, it's not worth doing multiple times. And of course, this list that I'm talking about today, it would not be even close to complete if I did not mention no health coverage. So what that means is if you go in and you fight and you get slashed and you get cut open and you have to go to the hospital, you're gonna rack up a massive bill. And I had this happen to me as well. Went to the hospital, a month later got a $1,000 bill. Like, whoa, what the heck? And fortunately, I just put my foot down and I said to the promotion, no, I'm not paying that. I'm not paying it. And even more fortunate, they wanted me back. So they ended up taking care of it. But we're talking 3 or 4 months of back and forth emails. They're like, you have to pay this. I'm like, no, that's your guys' responsibility. It was in the contract. So be very careful. Make sure that this is something that's listed there, because if it's not listed there and you have to go, you can be sure they're not going to cover it. And there are numerous times, even in Glory. I heard one time in Glory, I can't remember which fighter it was, maybe Errol Zimmerman. And I remember hearing that he got his forearm broken, something broken, and because they didn't have proper coverage, he ended up flying back the next day after the fight with a broken arm so he could get this maybe free healthcare or healthcare coverage in, I believe, the Netherlands is where he's from. This is very common. You need to make sure that you know you're going to be covered, because yes, it's a fight, and even a stitch could set you back $1,000+. It's pretty wild, especially if you're in the States. And weigh-ins. Oh, I actually had one time where the weigh-ins worked out really advantageous for me. The promoter said, oh yeah, the weigh-ins are supposed to be 24 hours before, but Gabriel, if you want, we can do them 48 hours before. I was like, oh, that's never happened. He's like, oh, you know, I'm the promoter, I can do whatever I want. So I'm like, sure, I'll cut 3 or 4 pounds tonight and we can weigh in. I don't know what my opponent thought about that. I don't think he was super pumped. But I was just like, yeah, we get to eat a little bit sooner. Dieting is garbage. I don't want to do it. So the weigh-ins, aside from things like that happening, that one worked in my advantage. I've had numerous times where I went and stepped on the scale and my opponent wasn't even there. And they're just like, oh yeah, he weighed in a couple hours earlier. And I'm like, but the weigh-ins were at 10. How did he weigh in before 10? And I get in there the next day and I look at this dude and I'm like, no, there's no way he made 140 pounds. No chance. And I've seen this before on the local promotions where somebody steps on the scale and they're over and it's just kind of like, shh. So be there to see your opponent weigh in. Make sure that you're fighting somebody at the right weight class, because if there's no commission sanctioning and you're weighing in at 140 pounds and then something happens last minute, they're like, oh, we got you this guy at 155 pounds. You should just take that fight. And you work so hard, right? In training camp, you just want to fight. You want to actually be able to show something for all the time you put in, all the effort. But weigh-ins can be sketchy, and make sure you are being smart and safe. The next thing which I want you to understand is getting paid can sometimes be sketchy, right? You sign the contract, it says how much money you're gonna make, but at the end of the day, if you're owed $2,000 and the fight promotion doesn't pay you, really, what are you gonna do? And I've had this happen before. I actually have. Went somewhere, didn't get my purse money. It can come in many different forms too. Sometimes it's not just the purse. Sometimes fight promotions will say, oh, I'll cover your expenses for getting here. You know, fly yourself in your corner or drive or this or that. We'll give you your money and then the fight's done. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll get it to you at some other point. Doesn't happen. So be really aware of this kind of stuff. If you have a fight contract, make sure you have listed in there that they're going to reimburse you. Make sure you have your dollars, like exactly how much you're going to get paid in that contract. If they are going to reimburse you, make sure it says before the fight, not after. Little things like that can really help. And for the fighters out there who think, okay, well, once I hit a higher tier level, this won't happen. Just look at fight promotions like Lion Fight. I got messaged by so many people saying they weren't getting the money which was owed. Is that true or not? Nah, I don't know, but it's not good when I'm receiving Instagram messages from people saying, yeah, can you bring this to other fighters' attention? So be on the lookout for fighter pay. Oh, and one other thing, sometimes there's something like, oh, we'll pay you after 30 days. And I've had numerous times where it's like 2 months later where I finally get paid. It is very common. So there you have it, everybody. 5 super sketchy things that you have to be on the lookout for when you sign with promotions. Many of them are garbage. Many of them are not even looking out for your best interest, even a little bit. Take care of yourself. Hopefully have faith in your trainer, your cornerman, your coach, that they're going to be looking out for you as well, because you're distracted, you're trying to make weight, you're stressed. Having a good team who's looking out for you is very important. Be sure to join the Strike Ready offense course. We're going to have so much fun. You're going to learn so much. I put so much effort into this. The link down below. Save 40% for a couple more days. As always, guys, train hard. I'll see you back here soon for another video.